7 o'clock. I'd like to bring this meeting to a start. Okay, call to order. Mr. Secretary, do we have meeting notice? Meeting notice?
Yes.
All right. March meeting minutes. They were posted. Have we had the opportunity to review them?
Yeah.
Any questions? All right. Motion to approve?
Second.
All right. All right. Old business. Foreclosure of 1005 Shalimar Point Drive was purchased by an investor. The taxes are paid current. We have the address. We will direct a letter to them. Mr. Treasurer, we should have a statement of whatever is due, so we can send that to them. I don't know if we'll get anything back from that, but that's what we will request. Next issue is an irrigation issue on Shalimar Point Drive. This issue was forwarded, I believe the idea, I'd like some background on this. Chase, are you here?
I am.
All right. Can you speak to us and explain to us what the background on this is? Because this started in the last board.
I can, yeah. So the main issue that we've been facing for months now is the irrigation does not have enough pressure to pop sprinkler heads up and work for any of the yards for the 6 lots that we have in our little cove. So we brought the issue to the HOA board. They told us, the previous board told us to get a quote to get it fixed. We did, and then they said that you need to resolve it between the members. One of the members has their own irrigation system, so they said they don't want to be a part of it, which is fine. But the rest of us still want to get the issue fixed, and then the new board has come along, so it kind of petered off, so no progress has been made on it. But the issue we have is we're still getting billed for this in each HOA quarterly dues, but the water is not running, and we're still getting billed the electricity charge for it, and we're not getting any water.
So to summarize then, you were building, can you speak to that?
Yes, the situation goes back to the original construction of the subdivision. The irrigation system was installed by the developer. We've done some previous searches to find what written documentation was in existence that would tell us how to handle it. None was found, so there was a meeting 5-6 years ago between the board and the residents there, and we came up with the rules that are published on the website. I think it's Rule 10 or somewhere in there, explaining that the cost of maintaining the system would be split between the homeowners and the board, each entity paying 1/7 of the cost.
Okay. And that's essentially, so who and what, a bid was obtained?
Yes.
Okay, and services were performed?
No.
Okay, so we have a bid, but no services.
Correct. So we
Okay.
came to the board to get it paid for and then split amongst the 6 or 7 residents in that division, and then the HOA never performed anything and told us to figure it out on our own.
So what I'm hearing is we have an agreement between the members of the neighborhood and the board. And based on that, you've done the legwork, you've gotten a bid, and that's where it's stalled.
Correct.
Okay. And Bill, from your saying, there's a published rule on the website that gives this teeth so it can be acted on, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this?
What's the exact number of homes that are on it now?
Let me think. So there's
Well,
us, Megan,
there's code enforcement.
Mary Carmen, Gloria, or not Mary Carmen, us, Megan, Gloria,
I don't know that somebody can
6
opt-
homes.
I don't know that somebody can opt out if the HOA has said the rule applies.
Correct.
There's just some people who are difficult to,
Right.
We all can be difficult, I'm not worried about
Yeah.
that. I just,
6
Bill, am I
homes.
correct? The
I-
rule does
Yeah, we
apply.
have it. 6 homes.
That's a hard one. I think of the 6 homes, the one of the members dropped out and installed their own system. So whether it's gonna be split 6 ways or 7 ways is up for decision.
Okay.
6 plus the HOA.
That's correct.
that's the
Well,
total.
plus
6
5.
homes.
6 plus the HOA, what do you mean by that?
Well, the HOA has one share,
Well, because there's like an HOA
common area.
common area that's also watered by that same.
Okay. Can I ask you to summarize that in an email to me?
Yes.
We will bring that to the next meeting. We will do a little legwork on that, and we'll make a decision next month.
I can forward you all the old traffic between.
I
those
just want a
HOAs.
summary. I want
Okay.
something that we can publish, that we can go for, we can make a decision on.
Okay.
We don't have any question here. We have an agreement between the previous president. We have your statement, which is an agreement. That's really not the issue. The background documents may be called on at a later date, but at this point, that's not in question.
Can do.
Let's get the invoices of what to be performed.
Correct. And a
We
bid,
can provide that.
okay? Do you have 1, 2, or 3 bids?
2, because we got one and Megan got one.
Okay, if you have
So
2
we have
bids,
2.
we'd love those too.
Can do.
So I'd like to push that off to the next meeting. Agreed? Okay. Gate issues. Now, gate issues arises, Mr. At-Large, do you have any comments around the gate issues? I know we had some issues last month.
The gate is back in full operation and there are no issues. The problem they had was very frustrating for the contractor, frustrating for us as far as trying to keep it working. They changed out all of the I call them motherboards or whatever those are. Anyway, every electrical board was changed out so that they would make sure they would fix everything that might be wrong. So far, it's looking wrong.
All the codes were rolled over, none of the codes.
Yeah, all the codes are the same.
What was the issue when the ambulance couldn't get in last week?
I was not aware.
Yeah, it was Friday night, a week ago Friday night, and the ambulance couldn't get in.
I don't know how that works. You should have, I know there was a code, emergency services, sheriff's
Does
department.
anybody else know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was that.
Yeah, I think somebody used a clicker to get them in.
They're supposed to have a,
So you don't know about details other than somebody clicked them in?
I was on my way out to put them in, and then I heard it hit it. So I figured somebody in the White House or the other White House, that's usually what happens.
Mr. Denny, can you reach out to the ambulance squad to make sure that they have the code?
they're supposed to.
In addition to them having a discrete code, there's a sensor at the gate which will also detect emergency sirens. And if they would have sounded their siren, the gate would have opened.
Well, are they aware of it?
Were the sirens?
Is every driver in the county? Probably not.
That's what I'm saying, we probably need to just refresh that.
And I'm not sure who was contacted, I'll check.
There's a director of the EMS. Okay,
I did the first one.
well, it's certainly a safety, probably reach out to them. So new business. 2910 Shalimar Lane, yard maintenance, lawn cut, but needs weed maintenance. Mr. Ott has brought this to our attention. I will send out a contact to the landlord regarding the property and request that they do weed maintenance.
I guess, what's the issue? If the lawn is being cut, there is a requirement for weed maintenance?
Well, his email states that there's no maintenance for weeds or infestation. It makes managing my lawn and the lawn on the other side difficult.
Is it in the yards or is it concrete?
It's in the yard.
If it's in his own personal yard,
It's in the yard, it's not.
and he's keeping his,
Contractor's responsibility.
his lawn is kept at a certain height, he's mowing his lawn, just because he's not spraying it for weeds doesn't make it our responsibility, or HOA issue, it's not a violation.
Unless it's in
He
the
might not
standard
like it,
somewhere.
but as long as he's keeping his lawn mowed,
Is weeds cutting?
he's keeping it cut. It might be weeds and it might not be grass, but it's not, unless it's exceeding the height, so I believe it's 4 inches.
That's what we thought.
So then, it is the opinion of the board that the standard is being met?
If he is
It was like
keeping
right
his
during
lawn
the switch.
cut,
on the
as
road.
he is stating, I don't think it's a violation.
I will respond to Mr. Ott that, with contact the landlord and let him contact him to address.
We never got a response.
Is that presumably
Yeah, no,
is the
we'll get it.
I don't have any details. Next issue is, beneficial ownership information report, BOI. We get a lot of emails from, vendors on this. It's regarding the Corporate Transparency Act. This requires all board members to have request FinCEN IDs. We all have it, gentlemen. We all have the FinCEN IDs. Have they been forwarded to the treasurer?
Yeah.
Is there a,
Can I speak to that?
yes, sir.
And I think Bill sent me an email that pretty much that requirement of that statute is not being enforced. And
It's being enforced as of 21 March.
so they've changed it?
They're not enforcing penalties, but it is effective as of 21 March.
All right, okay.
No penalty.
No penalties as of yet. It's been under litigation.
But we've all complied with getting the FinCEN IDs, and we forwarded them to you.
I have not seen consent IDs from.
Okay, can we forward them
I
to,
sent you my passport.
Yeah, you sent me the passport. I was told that everybody has them already from previous.
I got mine when I was elected to board. We all have to forward them,
Yes,
okay, to you.
yes.
That's a certificate.
That's the certificate from FinCEN, yeah. No, this is a different, this is a 5-minute application online.
It's
Okay, well, I have read that.
Okay.
I've got your information. I will.
Send me a.
I've got your correct. Taking it for it.
Yes.
Okay.
You're gonna take care of it.
Yes, I'll take care of it for the two because I got your information. I just need to. If you've got it, you can send it to me. We get a thing. We can confirm. If not,
And if we don't have to file, we don't have to file, but we should go ahead and get that ID in anticipation we'll have to eventually do it. Next issue is Bill Douglas has forwarded to me information regarding the Malice properties. I put it on here as new business, it's technically old business. The most important part is that this parcel has been subdivided into 3 lots. Technically, it's not clear if it's SPOA or if it's not SPOA. This has been an issue undergoing multiple iterations of the board over the past 20 years.
Roughly.
So I just put it on there as a placeholder. I will do some research into it. I'll bring it back next month and let us know if I've got any response to it. But the property at the end of Masters is divided into 3 lots, and as of now, there's no plans to build on it that we're aware of. Correct?
For some reason, it's already been withdrawn from the MLS listing, but it was for sale at $200,000 for each of the 3 lots, or $525 for all 3.
And it's not there anymore.
It's been withdrawn permanently, temporarily, I don't know.
So I will reach out to the property owner and the realtor and see what information I can bring back. Right. Next up, Mr. Kunz brought to our attention a sinkhole at 993 Shalimar Point Drive. I did, right before the meeting today, head over to take a look at it, and I missed it, but he and I discussed it. Mr. Peters and I both looked at the films and discussed it. This has to do with a perforated drainage pipe cut across the street. You're familiar with that, Bill?
Yes, there is I think it's an 8-inch diameter perforated pipe that runs from the north to the south with 4 catch basins. And we've had a flooding problem in that neighborhood for years because the perforated pipe did not go anywhere and the ground would become easily saturated in a certain level of downfall. So with the work that the county did, we were able to hook up to a line that runs now the length of the golf course and goes into a holding pond. So the flooding problem should be solved, but it appears there might be a leak in a joint or in the pipe itself. It's a cheapy little pipe that you might buy at Home Depot. It's nothing exotic. It's a corrugated pipe with a net around it.
So what do we need to do about it?
So what we're gonna need to do is gather more information about it. Pete was just saying, we'll need to potentially dig it up. I'll get Bill and try to.
Ownership might be an issue. It's on the homeowner's lot. Nobody, when the subdivision was platted, the county did not accept the drainage system. So it leaves it up in the air as to whether the drainage system is part of SPOA or belongs to each of the 4 homeowners.
Once again, it sounds like you have some unique information regarding this.
But if it were my decision, I'd go ahead and fix it as a homeowners association. We have done other work like having it cleaned once about 10 years ago.
It's between 993 and 995 Shalimar Point Drive. It's adjacent to the street. There's a sinkhole right next to the street there. No. Mark? Who's the name of the owner on the other side of you there?
The Olympio,
The Olympio.
Justin and Liz Olympio, the Olympio. Good Irish name.
So we'll have to do a little more digging on that, find out, literally digging. Okay. Mr. Douglas brought to our attention that the 2024 financial report was absent from the website. Have we rectified that? No? Do we have the 2024 report?
No, not yet. I need to have an audit with a couple of members of our community, another board member, and we can schedule that.
There was an audit committee. We'll have to reinvent that. Okay. After the meeting, if anybody has particular interest in performing that audit, don't all jump up at that one at once. Okay. We'll need to off that. Let's close that next one. And then finally, it was brought to our attention that the Blue Host domain for Shalimar Point Net site is up for renewal. I want to defer that one right now because that's going to fall into the IT.
Just so you know, Bill Douglas, he ended up paying for that, the $45-ish, and he is giving me his receipts. So it looks like it has been renewed.
Yes, it auto renews annually on my credit card, and I just turn in the receipt for the credit
Oh, I
card.
like that, Bill.
I move to keep
Just
that.
continue that.
I'd be glad to substitute somebody else for those.
Next up is my report as president. I I'd like to thank Mr. Lorne Holmgren for his service as ASC chair over the past couple of years. We had a discussion earlier over the last couple of weeks, and he elected to resign. After his resignation, I discussed with Mr. Lee Batts the possibility of coming on as the ASC chair, and he has accepted that position.
Who's the new chair?
Lee Batts. I will get you, I have a copy of his appointment. And probably the most important issue here that I have to say has to do with something that is technically an ASC issue, but it is more complex than that. In a nutshell, I was made aware a few weeks ago about a problem with a building project across the street here on the country club, and it brought out it was an issue where a number of requests had been approved by the previous ASC and the board, and I was being asked to intervene because part of the building request, again, part that had been approved by previous board, was a overbearing physical improvement that interfered with the neighbor's sight lines and overshadowed his yard. So I entered into some research on that, and I came back to this, and I bring this out as ASC meetings, and I'd like to draw attention to this because it's a significant issue that, at least for the past year or two, we have not been doing this in a consistent fashion, or actually in any reliable fashion. If you look at the F on this, ASC meetings and approvals, the applications for recurring improvements such as painting and roofing may be approved by the chairman without meeting of the ASC. Number 2, meetings of the ASC for the approval and improvements that do not alter the size or shape of a home, and meetings to conduct the initial review of proposed improvements may be conducted via email in lieu of a formal meeting. Now I'm going to stop there. Actually, I'll finish it and I'll come back to that. Drawings and other materials that are impractical to email will be made available for review by each ASC member prior to their vote for approval or disapproval. A monthly summary of improvements approved by the ASC without a formal meeting will be submitted to the board of directors. Now I'm going to stop there and just go back and point out that there's color in this document that I think needs to be interpreted. The approval of improvements that do not alter the size or shape of a home, and meetings to conduct the initial review of proposed improvements may be conducted via email in lieu of a formal meeting. I'd like to point out that kind of suggests that there is a certain routine fashion of submission that can be approved in a email fashion and without formal meetings. Those have to come to the board via the ASC to the board of directors. And prior to COVID, those things were pretty consistently being done, but it seems like there was some decrease in the volume of these reports, at least looking back at the minutes over the past couple of years. The last paragraph is also important, that formal meetings shall be held at such places as may be designated by the chairman and may be attended by any member of the association. Just like these meetings, they have to be able to be open and be attended. Notice the meetings must be posted in a conspicuous place in the community at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. The right of members to attend and speak at the ASC meetings will be the same as the published procedures for meetings of the board of directors, and minutes of these formal meetings will be provided to the board of directors within 2 weeks of the date of the meeting. A formal meeting of the ASC will be scheduled when called by the committee chairman or the board of directors. When the applicant disagrees with the decision to disapprove a request. And the last one, the proposed improvement involves new construction or major structural modifications. That is, that's the issue that is really at the center of the challenge between our two neighbors. So I attempted to hold a mediation regarding this, and as of this point, we do not have an agreement regarding where to go on that. I bring that up because it's still an open issue. It is my point, and I've made this clear to the gentlemen and the committee members who are affected by this, that the processes that were in place by the former ASC chair and the board were consistently applied through this period of time. Although I don't think personally that they meet the standard necessary within that instruction. Because they were usual and customary for the time at which they were approved, I don't wish to relitigate or re-investigate the actions of a previously appropriately elected board and chair of the ASC. That means this is really an issue for our two community members to try to sort out between themselves, and that the board is not going to intervene itself in this discrepancy. I've summarized the best I could to that. Does anybody on the board have a question? All right, he said he's going to make a comment about it when it gets to his portion of the note. So I will re-engage if there are further questions at that point. Vice President.
Thank you. First of all, since our last meeting, we put a organizational chart together. As you can see, it starts off with the president, all the board members, and the committees that fall under those particular board members. So there, you can find who is responsible for any particular activity that you want to be associated with. And I certainly encourage any or all of you to volunteer to jump on board some of these committees. Some of them need some help and need some additional support. So this is going to be published on the website. It'll be out there for everybody to see. So I think it's a good idea that we have an org chart that kind of depicts what we're all about and who's in charge of what. Any questions?
The only comment I would say to this is that some of the previous committees have been joined together and renamed, but nothing really has been eliminated. Okay?
Right. Okay.
Mr. Treasurer.
Treasurer's report, quick statement. I like to project. Who needs a microphone? Quick statement. Second quarter statements have all gone out. Great to see that the assessments are already coming in. A couple of things to note. The monthly report for February and March are available and up here for review. Good and or bad, I was absent for most of March. So tail end of February and most of March did not have much change. So unfortunately, most of March is all going to fall into the April summary. So there will be a lot to see in April, not much to see in March. Otherwise, one comment, or I should say, the motion that I'm going to propose to the board and would like to discuss. The purpose of printed out paper mail statements. I propose that it's for all members that move into the community. We are requesting, or I should say directing, emailed statements only. I understand that there are a small number of members of the community that don't have email, that might not be able to receive those emailed statements. I think there's always workarounds. Unfortunately, mailing out paper statements, very cumbersome, very time consuming, and expensive because of postage alone. Anything's always possible, but it always comes at a cost. So my request, or I should say motion, is to have all statements provided by email only. If I'm opening it up to, if somebody wants something specific and direct, contact me directly. I can provide you a statement, but it's not going to be via USPS.
I second.
And eventually, hopefully we get to the point where we have electronic mailing.
Absolutely.
Mr. Azar here, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Michael, when we get to you, we'll talk about this, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Finally, last thing, I know that we've talked about, and there's been requests, monthly summaries are missing from the website. One, all of 2025 for the January, February, March. Also, I want to say the last 6 months in FY24. I have those. As soon as we can figure out or get access to the website, we can have those posted. So,
I think, Mike can address that.
otherwise, that is, the last thing, we already talked about that. Never mind, that's all that I got.
So, what's the number four? Second.
Well,
All in
What would you
favor?
do with some of our homeowners who have no computer and have no idea to email first?
I have a potential solution for that, and what I'm gonna offer to Mr. Azar is, I think when you look at the website, there's a lot of erroneous information that is on there, whether it be names, addresses, 2 and 3 names, member directory, etc. I think we need to probably figure out a way of validating the data in that directory by way of a canvassing. And some people may not wish to have it electronically, and if so, we need to have, yes, ma'am. That's fine. My point is that I'd like to validate the process, because people in this community look to that website for addresses, for cell phones, for emails. We look to it for the purposes of billing and such. And I think we need to have reliable information there. So we need to do something to update that process on an annual basis, a verification process of some sort.
I agree with that.
So, I'd like to integrate that into the process for IT, but it's really more of a treasury issue, and it's going to affect how we do our treasury work.
and that's what my comments are, is of the process for, we'll say, mailing out paper copies, it's the process of stuffing envelopes, purchasing stamps, generating a specific statement versus batch delete or batch submit for 100 names at a time, 60 names at a time versus one as an individual. So there's always options, but it might be, and this is where it's okay, it's going to be a service charge, something outrageous to detour the need for paper statements. But it might be just like a processing fee. If we were to go to a management company, somebody's going to get processed and charged a fee for mailing out a paper statement. Whether it be a $3 credit card charge per statement plus a $5 handling fee. Who knows? There's options. There's always options, but it's right now. If you are paying your electric bill, your water bill, most of those, a lot of those, they are moving towards electric statements.
Mine are all paper.
And believe me, I love paper as well.
I'd like to point out that right now, we have to continue the way things have been done, because that's what we have. Going forward, there's a lot of other people in this community who bank electronically and don't even have a check. They feel equally out of place that they can't pay their dues without getting a cashier check. So this process needs to be an electronic solution which says what your preference is, as well as a portal to allow you to pay online, maybe with Ripple, who knows? The point is there will be a solution, and we just have to be open to it, and it all starts with an accurate verification of your preferences, which is your roster. Sir?
But her question is, people over 90 that don't have computers, that don't know how to use them, won't be able to participate. Those are the people that she's asking about, and not the other 90% that have computer access.
As I said, a canvassing of the community, okay, which literally may mean members of the board or other volunteers knocking on a door and saying, we just want to verify, how do you wish to be? Maybe this is a renter and they're not even part of the process. So Don, I appreciate your comment, but the reality is there's a lot of different options here that are not currently being appropriately handled because we have an archaic way of doing things. We will continue the archaic way, but we're not going to sit around and keep doing it this way because it is unreasonable, it is wasteful, and it's much easier to do it electronically for the people who do it.
And that's where it's an easy solution. It's you can find a balance. If you're willing to pay your full year's dues in one statement, okay, one statement. That's an easy. Okay, I just saved myself from having to do 4 statements versus 1. A lot easier. I'm trying to find ways to improve the process.
So for the time being, there won't be any changes,
Good transition.
but we are going to look at solutions.
Well, and I'm going to push to argue, why can we not have a transition now? This is not something that if you're doing this quarter, this would affect next quarter, or 3 months from now. And so there is time to do it. And also, grand scheme of things, in terms of rough order of magnitude, 30 people or less that either have a preference not to receive electronic statements, but they do have email addresses and they do have email addresses on record. And then there are probably, of that 30, we'll just say 15 that we do not have any email information for.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of a paper, show it to me, let me see how it looks kind of guy. If you want to present that here to the next meeting, I'm more than happy to let us discuss.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I don't see a reasonable alternative that is being.
I think some of what Mike's going to introduce is going to overshadow this.
I agree.
So once we hear that may mute that
But
point.
the comment is, can we start something now? And I
Well,
don't
let's
think.
hear what Mike has to say.
All right, so you're gonna withdraw your motion?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay, so motion has been made and seconded to direct email only statements.
And then all 4 of us actually approved it.
I have no problem with directing email statements. That does not that prevents us from communicating with people who don't have email. We still need to get it to them.
But
And is he going to go ahead and still print those out for the people who don't?
I did for this quarter.
And that's my point, is we still need to accommodate what we currently have.
But we are moving forward. Okay, there's a motion.
I understand, and what I'm saying is, I have no problem with electronic statements. They do not replace a paper statement at this point, because we don't have an alternative for the community.
But we do have an alternative. We have the electronic statements, which we just voted on.
Not everybody has those emails. We don't have 100% of those emails on the website.
But what we do post on the website is the dues for every household is $185 per lot, and they're always due on the first of every quarter. So
And if you don't have a computer, you can't get on the website.
There are a handful of older patients that patients.
And at the same time, I'm trying to figure out, are we going to pin ourselves down by, we'll just say, 5 people, or how do we move forward? Right now, I just provided a motion, it was seconded, we voted on, it was accepted.
I'm gonna withdraw my vote because if we don't have an alternative, so right now it's 4 against 1. If we don't have an alternative, it's not fair to the community.
Well, then I'm gonna withdraw mine too, because we have to be unanimous.
No, we don't. It can be 3 against 2, and you just need a majority of the board.
I'm not gonna approve it, I'm not gonna give my support behind anything without understanding where we're going with electronic verification and communication. We need to have the ability to reach out to every single member of this community, either by paper, because that's the way they choose to be informed, or by email, if that's the way they wish. And
But all of our new members, we direct them. We only do electronic mails, or electronic statements.
there are people who've been in this community for 20 plus years. Yes, sir.
Hey, Don, and
Sure.
back me up, Bill, but I think, I was advised that just like, for example, your electric bill, if you wanna get a paper copy, you can get a paper copy. I believe in the statute says that if a homeowner wants to get a paper copy, they can do that. And that's the way I was instructed, and I don't know, but I would check the statute, because I don't know if you can just go, and I know what you mean, it's a pain in the neck.
No, and then that's fine.
Right.
But then also, as I said, I think that there's an alternative.
Right, but I would check on the statute, because I think if a person wants it, you gotta send it to them.
Well, no, and that's fine, but then there's also a service charge to apply for that.
Okay. We are treading water here. I move to withdraw my vote for this.
Based on that fact, I think we need to review the statute, see how it
So Ms. Denny likewise wishes to go on. Okay,
I agree.
No,
okay.
It's the right thing to do, we just don't need to rush into it.
We need to plan, correct. Okay. I still will take your recommendations for next month if you want to have that. Okay. Anything else, Don?
Nope.
All right. Mr. Secretary, wish to forward, I put this on here from your notes.
Yeah, the only thing, you actually said I've covered everything that I had on my list. There's one approval from the ASC for Buchanan, 999 Shalimar Point Drive, roof, tile, the shingle, paint, trim, approved.
You made a comment to me about old records were transferred to the president.
You're right. The president and his wife have graciously accepted all of the old paper records that were handed to me. And their comment is,
I would like to say it's taking up the bulk of my dining room. Are there any other old records, treasurer's records, secretary's records, president's records, that we do not have access to right now? We are going through, we are organizing them, and we are going to make we are going to provide a way of putting them online for historical purposes. Digitize them, thank you.
and Mr. Vice President has stated that he has a file cabinet that is available.
Yeah. I've got.
No, I have a tall four shelf one, so if you need.
I don't need, because Mr. President has all of them.
Mary Carter needs one.
Does Mary Carmen need
They're
it?
all going on websites. We don't need them.
Yes, sir.
We don't keep it happy. It's not online. It's
I
kept.
just want to make sure we are aware that only 7 years worth of records
Yeah,
are needed to be kept.
Well, yeah, but there are some
There
records
are
that
some
need to be
records that are
kept.
probably unique enough
Yeah, they
and
need to be kept.
appropriate enough to continue, that show, so we will not destroy anything without bringing it to the board, okay? But everything that's required will be posted. The 7 years certainly is the thing that stands out. Yes, sir. All right, and the file cabinet as noted. All right, now your opportunity, Benny.
Okay, back to the subject of the drainage pipe repair between the two lakes on Masters. It's dead in the water right now, no pun intended. It's all contingent on the construction that was going to be done across the street from the clubhouse here, and we were going to use their equipment that was here. And if you recall, I don't remember which meeting, maybe 2 meetings ago, I said next week we were probably going to get it fixed. And that's what I was getting from the contractor. And he had his equipment here, and everything was basically be done. But when they ran into this thing between the two homeowners as far as this restriction on views, they basically ended up having to take their equipment and go elsewhere to work. So it's kind of not completely dead in the water, but I don't have an estimate for when that's going to be fixed. I just hope we don't get a flood situation like they're having in Kentucky, because I got a feeling that was washed out. And I don't know what we do if it washes out there. There is a way of getting on Country Club, going out through those 3 lots back there by that lake. But I don't want to see us to have to do that. But right now, the repair is ready to be done. It was reviewed and planned. There are some utility issues as far as they were working that out. And it looked like they were going to get it done within the next week at that time. But right now, I have no estimate. In fact, I was talking tonight to Mike Newell, who's an engineering support on that issue, and he said he doesn't have an estimate either. It's still in abeyance between the two owners working out how to fix the problem. And I don't have any more than that as far as facts, but it is something that is, it's not in adjudication as far as he was concerned, and it was my question. So it's just a matter of the two trying to work it out.
Now we're on to our committee reports. This will take on the new format that we're talking about. So the Architectural Standards Committee, Mr. Palmer resigned. Lee Batts has accepted the position as chair, and as noted, 999 Shalimar Point Drive, the roof tile, the shingle, paint trim was approved. Any comments, questions?
No, we've met with Lee, Sean St. Peters, Denise was out of town, and Yogi, and we've chatted with the architectural group, which is gonna stay intact, and so Lee's gonna have a meeting with them shortly and get everybody up to speed, so I think we're in good shape.
I would like to reiterate that that is that's a worthwhile comment, that these committees do have a certain life to them, and it is our hope that the committee chairman will gather people in the committees and report up through either to me or through the other members of the board what the activity in these committees has been, so that we can get a sense here in these board meetings of how things are moving forward. The Appeals Committee, do we currently have people still on the Appeals Committee? Okay, I will advertise, we make a note in our minutes that the Appeals Committee has vacancies, and we will make a request for community members to volunteer for some of these committees.
Rick, didn't you want to be on appeal?
We have a volunteer in Ms. Tammy
Didn't you want to do?
McDonald
Rick, you want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Warren.
and Rick Warren.
Anybody else want to join in?
All of these committees that you volunteer for, we will get letters of appointment to you, so that it's an official recognition that you've been given that opportunity.
Appreciate it.
Tammy, you and who else?
Rick Warren.
Rick Warren.
The Beautification Committee. Now this, we have,
That's got Christine Watson and Brenda Royster.
No, I see.
You're on it. And then,
Would you like to be on?
Would you like to be on?
Okay. It was our understanding that you wish to be, so that's why we're saying we'll get you
she's
on.
on it. Yeah, Royster, Christine Watson, and I'm the board rep. And actually, we have that kind of falling under architectural standard.
The social committee, my understanding is, Don, was that you the chairman of the social committee?
Yes.
All right. Would you like a moment? You can put your other hat on a little later, but for the social committee, I missed a dinner a couple weeks ago, so I don't want to do that again.
Sure, we still have an opening for 2 more people to participate on the social committee. We'd like to get some younger people in our neighborhood, get more involvement. The next activity we have is the Easter egg hunt, which is Saturday, the day before Easter on the 19th. It was a big turnout last year. We had a lot of young people participate. One of our best events ever, and we hope that goes well again this year.
What do you need from the board for that, Don?
Eggs?
Nothing, I just sent an expense report, he pays it. Perfect.
Don, will you do me a favor, just because I don't want to discount anything that you do, but whether it be Easter, it's definitely all for the kids, but anything that is more adult oriented, can you provide either one a sign-in list, a SPOA member, something that just identifies who from the community is participating?
Yeah, if I can.
Well, I'm gonna put it to you this way. If the SPOA HOA is gonna provide the funds for it,
Yes.
I have no problem doing it. I'd like to know who from the community is actually using it in total head count.
That was my question. How many people do we ever invite people from Lake Lorraine to these events, or is it strictly just Shalimar Point, our neighborhood?
It's been both in the past.
We've opened it up to families outside the neighborhood for kitty type things. So for like the Easter egg hunt is open, and then the Halloween thing is open, and those events cost less. Halloween costs no money at all, and then the Easter egg hunt costs less than $200 on some little trinkets.
And I'm less concerned about the kid stuff because I'll gladly donate.
So the 3 big events are where we have big dinners, and we sponsor that, and it's a $25 meal that we pay $15 for. I don't have any way to get the attendance of those.
If people are walking in the door and or buying tickets or paying somebody, they should be able to write down their name and or their address.
You're correct. We've been doing that all along. I'm sorry, I correct myself.
And that's, if you could provide me with that list when you would provide me with your seats. that's
Sure,
all.
no problem.
Awesome, thank you. Is there another hand raised?
I just forgot everybody's name.
No, Don, is there a time set for the Easter egg hunt?
Yeah, it's on the flyer on the door, right there. It starts at 10 a.m. and goes to 11, or 9 a.m. and goes to 11. Right there in the door. Another one over here. We do need a volunteer to wear the Easter bunny outfit.
Come on.
We're looking for somebody
Come
less than
on.
5'10", less than 200 pounds.
They gotta be 5'2" and weigh less than 120.
It's a really cute outfit.
There's someone not with the criminal.
All right, if anybody sees a bunny around, please direct them towards Don. And Don, if you can get, in the future, if you can get those flyers to Michael, we'd like to post them on the website. I don't know if we'll get any additional visibility, but it's certainly not a bad idea to put it on the front page.
One last point. When we had the mystery dinner event, 0 cost to Spola. I mean, I'm sorry, we paid $20 to print up some invitations.
So fun.
All right, the welcoming committee. Now, my understanding was the members of the welcome committee had stepped down. Is that true?
Yes, and I'm doing the welcoming.
Okay, Ms. Tammy McDonald?
I just got, the materials and I don't have any information about, basically, I just got a bucket. But I have welcomed 2 new families, one, in Shalimar Point and one over here.
So you're already doing the job. please tell us what you've done.
I welcome them.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
How did you welcome them?
I just went to.
Very nicely.
I said, a formal welcome for coming, I'm just now doing
So Tammy, you're a committee of one?
it. No, no. I'll tell you what's going on.
Did you have letters? Okay, we need to get letters.
Appointment letters.
Appointment letters. We'll look back at the board chart and compare those. I'd like to fill this out next time. And now, finally, our tech committee, Mr. Michael Azar. We've all been waiting for this.
Pressure's on, pressure's on.
So the,
Do you have,
okay. Maybe it might be the next one.
what's that, next one?
Is it the next one? Maybe. Here it is. So I didn't put this on here, but we currently have the $250 a year plan, and we cannot upgrade the design without paying a $400 or $500 fee. So the next best thing is upgrading to the light version, which comes with the design upgrade included, and that's $599 for the year. Versus the legacy plan we have now, which has very little features, is $250. So by just upgrading to the light plan, we get a lot more features, and the design upgrade is included, along with a lot of other.
Can you step back and tell us what this is?
Sure. This is a list of the legacy column are the features we have now, which most of it is none on those items. The right column is the light plan, which is the lowest plan they have right now. So as you can see on the light version, it's got a mobile-friendly design. The SSL is included, which we did that a few weeks ago. There's an improved member directory, which I believe you should be able to opt out of if that was an issue.
So this would be for the website, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, our website. There's an improved document library, which has more space for the meeting videos and the documents, our photo galleries. There's features for news and email announcements, but I guess the big thing is the online payments, which has an automated, pull up my minutes here.
Bring that as a recommendation then?
I do. You get a lot more features, and you don't have to pay the $400 or $500 design upgrade, and that's all you get is the design upgrade. So there's a lot of features that maybe we can get together, and I can show you how the payment system works, and it's you can export to Excel, so I think you can integrate with whatever you're using.
If you were to change from the current, is it legacy currently?
That's right.
If you were to change from legacy to the light version, how long would it take you to implement that change?
I think it's like within a day.
So that you would change this account, and then all these features would be available.
That's right.
Okay. Each one of these features affects different ones, different people on the board. Like, for example, some of these are financial, so the
Sure.
treasurer. Some of these have to do with document library, so the secretary and the president, vice president. You would have to get us up to speed on using this, but likewise, how easy is it for the community to access this, to use it? Is it pretty
Well, it's the same system we have now.
Okay.
It's just an upgraded version. So it'll look better, it'll work better. It's got a lot more features. but-
So it would be, from the user interface, it doesn't look any different?
No, sir. I
No
mean, the
additional-
design,
The
colors
design
and
will
stuff
be
might
different,
change,
but-
but the functionality, the structure is basically the same.
Okay.
So just more features.
Won't be any more confusing for somebody who's semi-literate on.
I mean, it might be just as confusing.
I
but
think
it's not
it
gonna
might be
more-
easier to use
Okay.
because it kind of shortens some of the sections, and then the design upgrade would include areas where you can talk about what the social committee is doing. After the meeting, I can pull up what the design would kind of look like if you guys wanted to take a look at
I guess
it.
what I would like to say is if we go this direction, we might want to see some form of like a transition team to help the community and the members
Sure.
make that transition.
Sure, we can definitely help with that.
So perhaps a plan for making that transition.
Sure. And we can also get together with the different
And can you
teams.
transition a few people as a test, check it all out?
I think that it would definitely be wise for at least the payment system, just to have a few beta testers and try it out for a month or however long.
The new website, the new functionality can go quickly, and then when it comes into the payment plan, we do a test bed
Sure.
with so
Yes.
many people, maybe the board members and some people, just to make sure it's all working.
That's
before it
right.
goes into-
Will the members of the community be able to sign in and check their account?
They can do, sorry, I've got tons of notes here. There is, you can collect HOA dues or special assessments online, integration with PayPal or similar system, auto reminder for unpaid dues, and then there is an account balance where you can log in and
Perfect,
see
okay.
all of your records from the past as well.
Mike, we'll be able to pay our dues online?
Yes.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Eventually.
From a data storage perspective.
There you go.
What's our, data
What's
storage
online
limit?
payments via bank card or card?
What's our data storage limit now in the legacy system versus the new system?
I'll have to pull that out. I think it was like 100 megabytes or something now. It was very little. Where the new one, it's on the cloud, so you can use, I think it's, I'll have to double check. I don't want to tell you the wrong number. But it can be expanded as needed for relatively low price. So for all the meeting videos, documents, and all the documents.
Megabytes versus terabytes.
Right, it's potentially
Well, this is great. Unfortunately, this is an unbudgeted item. So we either have to
Well, it's an upgrade to an existing.
agree, but we're basically going to go into other discretionary funds, which means we have those funds to do that. And if not, we're going to, I don't think we're going to blow the budget, but I'm just saying that that's technically what we're doing.
And just for rough order of magnitude, that was the difference of, what was it, 250 a year?
250 versus 600, 589.
So,
So it's an additional 250.
and that's gonna be, and that's gonna be a month.
A year.
My point is,
Once a year.
we're spending money that we didn't plan on, it's only a little bit.
And
I
I think
certainly, I recommend that we proceed with a transition plan. I would like to have that transition plan come forward from the IT, how it's going to go be pushed out to the community, okay? That there will be people available to help you if you have any questions about it, et cetera. But I think we should, and a test, so we should have a transition plan, but I think we should do it.
Make a motion.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All right.
Well, we'll put together some documents.
Thank you, Michael. I know you and Bella put a lot of work into this. Thank you.
So we are going.
Yes.
And Mike, Mike, how soon can it be up?
Really, just as soon as you pay them, they'll switch you over. So it's pretty fast.
As soon as he pays.
By next month, we will have a transition plan that we will be able to explain people what's up and running, how this appears to work, and if there are questions about how to use it, we have experts who can show us how to do it. Okay? All right.
And we did Isabella did an upgrade last month, and I think it just took maybe an hour or two, so they're pretty fast.
Yeah, so how they explained it to me. Oh God. What they explained to me was that I would submit a request for any design change or anything like that. I would work with somebody that works on the website, and I work with them directly with what we want, what I want it to look like, what sections. I mean, we're going to keep all the same sections, and then they do all of the back end work to make it look nice. And then as soon as they're finished on the back end, it's instantaneous on our side. Does that make sense?
Next up is our gate committee report. Brenda. Remember?
Going to Pete because, I think Pete put something together.
This is what I have.
No, I did on the legal. I'm not on the gate.
This is about the power capacity for the gate. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Oh, okay, yes. I already turned in everything.
You did last month.
I did, and
Yes.
and I don't know what's happening now. John will
I-
give you an update.
I just saw this. I'll let you know when I look at more to follow.
Okay, we'll defer this till next month. I think the biggest issue with power is you want to have it in place so when we want to put displays on. Yes, correct. Next up, the much anticipated election committee report.
Okay. I'm told I
You are on the
have
clock.
like 7 minutes, and I will
Talk
not
fast.
stop. So, are you pulling it up? Okay. So disregard page 1, page 2. Okay, on the introduction, the only thing that's really important here is that we want you to understand that the intent of this evaluation was not to invalidate the election results, but to help improve SPOA effectiveness, transparency, and compliance for future elections. And that would be something that we want you definitely to know. Next. So our approach, we had 4 categories that we looked at. We looked at vacancies and candidate submissions, and that was back in October. Vacancies, how many vacancies are there? And the candidate submissions. And then the next category was annual meeting notice, ballot and proxy distribution and voting. And the next section was handling and counting of ballots. And we did a scan of all of the election documents, and we did that in January. And we looked at all the SPOA minutes, the newsletters, the voting ballots, proxies, all the emails regarding candidacy requirements and deadlines, candidate information, and voting tallies and reports. So we had quite a bit of information. Next. So primarily the questions, the 2 questions that we wanted to address was the election compliant with the Florida Statute 720 and the SPOA bylaws. That was number 1. And was the election transparent to homeowners? And was the information understandable? Was the information consistent in its dissemination? And was the information provided in a timely manner? And the information is openly communicated and accessible to all homeowners. Next. Okay, so the first category was vacancies and candidate submissions. So every October, we supposed to learn how many openings there are, because there's only 3 years, and if someone is leaving early, if someone's moving out of the neighborhood, that creates a vacancy. So we need to know how many vacancies there's going to be. And we need to know a date in which people can self-nominate, because that's a Florida statute. You have to self-nominate. And so the date was October 25th in order to self-nominate. However, the problems that we see the governing documents here, the problems in this section was that the three board vacancies were not announced until November 12th. And that was at a SPOA meeting minutes, even though it was weeks past the deadline to declare candidacy, which was October 25th. So if someone wanted to, self-nominate, how do you know how many openings? We didn't know how many openings there were. We didn't know how many people should run. I mean, people need to know this. Homeowners need to know this information. And then they have to submit, that they were going to self-nominate. And they do this through email. And so there was a little bit of a problem because there were several different candidates based on return responses. And it was October 25th to have your resume in, October 27th, and then for someone, not later than 5 November. So there's a little inconsistency, so it's a little confusing, you know, in that respect. And then we had inconsistent validation of candidates and submission of resumes. So for our example here, we had 6 candidates. We didn't need to have 6 candidates, but we didn't know there were only 3 openings because we weren't told till later in November. So we otherwise would not have run 6 candidates, all right? So we made some recommendations that tighten up, you know, on the dates and so forth for elections. Okay, second. B, annual meeting, ballot.
Am I on the same page? Move it up.
Next page.
I only had a couple minutes.
Okay.
Annual meeting, ballot, proxy distribution, and voting. And we have lots of governing documents to support us. And that's what we went on. So the findings in this is that on October 8th, the SPOA board meeting minutes stated that the schedule was discussed, but no date or number of vacancies were documented. And they would not know by then, actually, until October 25th would be the date, you know, that people had to have their self-nominations in. So October newsletter stated that the date for the annual meeting was December 10th, and that kind of goes back. They choose that date because it has to be at least no later than 45 days, all right, from when they announced that the candidacy, that they needed candidates. Distribution, when the election package was sent to homeowners, no contact information for obtaining additional voting materials was included. Some envelopes for submitting ballots and proxies were sealed upon receipt. They had no one to contact. They couldn't submit their ballots. They couldn't submit their proxies in the rolled envelope. Follow-up was delayed. And after complaints to the president, an email response gave instructions on how to obtain replacement envelopes, which included a verbal response via telephone. And some of these were elderly people who could not get in their cars and drive over to the president's house to pick up envelopes. So we were just tightening up on something like that in our recommendations. That if we had an election committee, all of that might have been easier and not put on one person when it had. So there also was a discrepancy between the number of ballots and the number of proxies. So there's 145 ballots and 110 proxies. So we wanted to know why. So I did ask people, I put a list together and asked people, and mainly it was confusion over the instructions. And also there were some other difficulties that could be corrected. The election packages were mailed, the date unknown. Out-of-town homeowners received their election materials late due to delays by USPS, which made it difficult for them to meet some deadlines. Additionally, the process for voting was changed for the first time in 11 years. The instructions for submitting ballots and proxies were unclear. The instructions informed homeowners that ballots were due by 5 p.m. on the date of the annual meeting. It was never like that. Never. Yeah, on the date of the annual. This was a departure from previous years when homeowners had an option to vote at the annual meeting, and issues occurred due to the change process. So, and homeowners did not have the option of voting in person as required by government documents, the Florida statutes state. That specifically.
Brenda, please.
Time up? Oh, geez.
Yes, let's go ahead and summarize, all right?
Okay, I'll summarize. All right, so I'll just briefly state the recommendations. So our recommendations were to appoint an election committee. All right, and therefore, if you have an election committee, you can oversee the process and you have several people instead of one person trying to handle all this. Ensure that the election committee establishes election timelines for all these, and they're passed out to anybody who is going to self-nominate and all that. And also, all of the documents have to be kept. They are election materials. They have to be kept in a file, and actually, we received none were available. No documents, no resumes, no letters, to and from. And so the candidates were asked to get. Okay, so.
I'm sorry, we've got a lot of stuff to get through, we're already over an hour.
Okay, it's so good. All right.
All right, I'm gonna just ask a few things, number one.
Yes, it will be on the website. Yes. It will be, and in fact, a better report than this will be on the website.
Who are the members who participated in this review?
Okay, it was Tammy, myself, and Susan Peters.
Okay,
We didn't know anything with Dawn. Dawn was out of town.
that's
We
fine.
didn't know Denny. I had no idea that Denny was supposed to be on the committee either. But we were, after January, when we went through, we did all the scanning, we were already done.
I just want to point out that in my recommendation on this, that this was going to be, because it's greater than 60 days from the election, that this is only really to be about lessons learned, and I appreciate you trying to keep the lessons learned. I would like to point out that the findings, recommendations will be posted online along with your talk. I agree with your concepts about election committee. We will certainly take that for action. And I think that there's actually, in the Florida statutes, a beautiful timeline for condominiums for their election process. It's not applicable to the 720, but it certainly serves as an idea for perhaps this election committee as we get forward going into the election, that we might want to entertain coming up with something like that, hold ourselves accountable. So I thank you for the hard work you ladies did.
So I have a question. So to bring your recommendation, what happened?
What recommendation? First of all, good point. I think what was given was a presentation. Formal recommendations should be served to us. And I think that we can summarize this into a few simple points. I will get with them personally. I'll bring that to the meeting next month. And what it will be is a simple process for appointing, for selecting an elections committee, to come up with a timeline well in anticipation, so that we can execute an election that everybody here feels comfortable we do what we say.
Yeah, this was a lot of work.
Sure.
And, I commend you guys for doing what you did. And I certainly would like to see those recommendations put into place.
But I think what we have here is too voluminous to be actionable. And it's too detailed and too much retrospect. What we really need to do is focus on lessons learned and how we're going to go forward. So I will boil this down into something for the next meeting.
Roles and responsibilities.
Yes.
That's what it means.
Elections committee with roles and responsibilities. All right. Legal committee.
Okay, go to the next slide. We'll go through this quickly. We've done a legal review, and we've got to get a lawyer. That's the name of the game. We're going to need them eventually. And they offer you all kinds of things, as you can imagine. And so we went through several different offerings, and option one is where you get consultation by phone, email for the board president, the manager, if you will. And they do the review of all the contracts for the association and review and provide advice on any required notices, meeting minutes, and those kinds of things for the board meetings. Provide advice, recommendations concerning the association budget, eligibility to receive and participate in legal updates, board members, certificate courses, and serve as registered agent for the association. Plus, they prepare to file any liens for non-payment for assessments, and that kind of stuff on dues that haven't been paid. Next. And then option 2, that's just the basic. Option 2 is what they'll do is they'll give you everything in option 1, plus you'll have an attorney at your meeting. And you can have that attorney on a con call. They can be in person if they want, depends on how they want to do it. But they're up to 4 meetings a year, and then they do, or they do video conferencing, and so they do all of that. Next slide. And so, what our recommendation is that we take these requirements and go out to several firms that do HOA stuff and see what kind of pricing back we get, from each of them to do that. And I think our recommendation would be do option 1 and 2. We don't have to have them here per se, but we at least have them on call. And I was at a HOA before where it's nice to have them right on the phone, and they keep you out of trouble. If you're going down the wrong way, they keep you out of trouble. And that's always kind of good. So that's our recommendation. Second?
Second.
All right.
Third, fourth, fifth? So what I'm gonna do in May would be, I will bring you some estimates in May. 3 companies, at least 3 that, services, right. And then we can choose. Okay. Everybody good?
All right, Don, you're up again. Now, Don, your slides did not immediately transfer over, so I copied them over. I do have your slides. I appreciate you sending them.
Okay. I was afraid you'd have technical difficulties, so I want a copy with me.
Oh, they're right there.
It doesn't plug into that.
That's pretty clear.
So Sue Ellen Olson was the co-chair on this committee. We also had Lee Batts, Ashley Harkins, Tammy McDonald, Connie Krimble, and Karen Malloy. So we had 2 meetings, and we're very pleased with the progress we made so far. So the board of directors here is looking to improve communications and transparency and actually make a transformation. And they can do it by themselves, and but they're kind of busy with day-to-day operations and violations and legal issues and collections and payments and invoices and things like that. So a viable alternative is to hire a property management company to assist in that. And that can get us to transform our organization more quickly, more efficiently, and do a better overall job for the community. Next slide.
Our first steps for the BOD committee was that we went out and applied for, we went out and drafted proposals from professional management companies. And in doing so, we reviewed them and took from that point their services that they offer, which are services such as you would get from a housekeeper. It's based on, of course, the services that they provide. And the proposals range from basic accounting services to full service management packages. And we submitted these 3 proposals to Pete Peters at that time, as our conduit to the board. So hopefully we'll be able to get something in a more compact structure as we go along.
Boy, that's fine type there. So as Sue Ellen said, there's a laundry list of services they're willing to provide.
Fine type on here too.
Right, mine's a little bit bigger. That was a recap for you, sir. And we'll get this published on the website as soon as someone can figure out how to post a document. You know, we're 3 months into it and we still have questions with that. Which is just brings up a point that we need some help moving along. So there's a lot of benefits on property management.
I resent that, okay? I want to stop you right there and say that's inappropriate. We have taken on a totally new IT directorship. We've tried to work within the constructs of this 720 where we can't meet outside this arena. And so I appreciate the work you've done, but I don't appreciate throwing us under the bus for not being able to put things on the website in a timely fashion. We are going to continue to work on that, and I make that promise to you, sir.
Sure, I mean, no disrespect to the committee. I'm just saying posting a simple document on the website, it should be a relatively easy task. That's all. No disrespect. My apologies. So there's a number of services you can get. The property management company has to maintain legal licenses, and their channel managers need to be educated and maintain their license also. So you're really getting professional help from these folks. The PCM works at the direction of the board and does not take action without board. PCM can help develop best practices and strategies to help us move ahead more quickly, and help sustain property values and improve overall owner experience. The PCM and the CAM are responsible for violation processes, including inspections, violations, notices, lien processes, unpaid fines, and things like that. The last point there is it helps remove neighbor against neighbor. You know, it's unfortunate we've had that in the past, and you get a professional person that helps negotiate those things and collect the fines and improve the community relations among ourselves. It helps us be more compliant and follow the new HOA statutes. They negotiate contracts and compliance with outside vendors. They facilitate board meetings and annual meetings, include compliance with notices and voting. You know, we had problems with our voting, so that might help. Maintain HOA records, including those limited to documents, owner registration, meeting minutes, contracts, and things like that. They can also provide online services for payments, electronic voting, and document repository. So we don't have to go out and reinvent the wheel. They have these services already, and they're being used by their other clients. Next slide. They also provide a host of financial services for timely and comprehensive financial reports. They help with deposits for funds, HCA processing, invoices, and collections. They do tax preparation, year-end filings. They can do the 1099 for outside vendors. They can execute help with budgets and forecasting. They can help with timely management of delinquent accounts with updates to the board. You know, do collection calls, filing notices, and things like that, instead of hiring the attorney to do that. They can monitor maintenance reserve funds and advise if we're not going to meet the requirements for those. And they can facilitate special assessment processes if necessary.
The savings in the ROI, which is return on investment, of partnering with a property management company are as follows. The property management companies provide a service for a monthly management fee plus consumables, for example, postage. Depending on proposed offers, this could increase our administrative budgetary line item. The time savings for the board of directors, for example, if the treasurer is devoting 50+ hours a month to his position, we have no monetary savings since the board is a voluntary position with no pay. However, a shift in responsibility will allow our board to better optimize their time investment to focus on running the community day-to-day administrative and financial issues. The legal fees can see a savings or at least a more beneficial use of funds. The council should be utilized for legal matters instead of basic operating questions. A PMC can offer operational guidance and help determine if and when to engage counsel. The overall savings, cost, and the ROI is better determined after one full year of management completion, or at least, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Your last statement there.
Yeah.
So what is that cost? Do we have an estimate of what that cost is?
Yeah, I'm sorry, with our 3 proposals that we received, they gave the estimated cost only because they can't determine a definite fee without knowing what our definite requirements are. So they gave an overall view of that. Each one of the companies ranged from just general financial only or accounting services all the way up to full service, which includes administrative and so forth.
So is it possible for you to put that onto a grid, just like IT did, that shows us the costs that are rough estimates, I understand the rough estimates, and put that with the different vendors and what the different services are and how much that would roughly cost? I mean, to say that we're going to find out after a year of service what we're going to save on this sounds like Nancy Pelosi saying, sign the bill and then we'll tell you what's in it.
Right. Well, I have an answer to that. Specifically, according to the information that we have received from these management companies, is they cannot give us a set amount. This is just an estimate. Like, we had one company with the starting fee of
Financial services only for as little as $10 a quarter for each lot. But it really depends on what services you pick and how much the cost that will be.
What's the totals, Don?
No.
Don't
The
do it.
grand totals. The grand
Your
total.
cost is $10 a quarter.
I'll let you go on, but that's my question is, what does this look like, dollars and cents, different vendors, different levels of service? It'd be a worthwhile chart to have as a next step. This is very good, but I think it's falling a little short on what that looks like.
Okay, now we're not talking dollars per dollar or per hour or per month or year or whatever. For the homeowners, we're talking about services offered by the management company. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm saying just like our colleagues in IT showed us for $250 you got all these items, and for $500 you got all these items. That's not an unreasonable expectation when you're looking at
Absolutely not. We'll be glad to do that. We have already
What's up,
gotten. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Pete just did the legal presentation. He said you have low-end, medium, and high-end services, but gave no cost estimate.
But he's going to give
He
cost
said he's gonna bring
estimates
it back
next
next
month.
month.
Yeah, we've already submitted it to Pete.
Right.
So we can put it on a chart if you like, but there's a lot of features that you can pick and choose from, and that's what we need to know to get a
What I'm
quote.
seeing is that we get to figure it out after a full year of management.
You'll have a better idea
Yes,
after a full year.
after a year, we will have a full year to know. And this is not a lifetime commitment to have a management company. We can break it at whatever time that we determine. If we determine they're not doing their job or it's not cost effective to our HOA, then we can sever the relationship at any time. It's not, we sign a contract, yes, but it's all based on our satisfaction of their services.
From a rough order of magnitude, may or may not be talking about cost. Are you able to break it down in terms of service? We'll just say, like with the IT service. if low end of scope only is treasury services and financial services only, what is that approximately, either one total package or
That's
4 years?
$10 per quarter per lot.
Okay.
And take down is per year.
Okay.
And then if you add services onto that, it can go to be $15 or $20 per quarter per lot.
So 8 to 20,000 is what he's saying.
Oh, and that's total, okay. Now.
And it could be more than that if you pick more.
No, absolutely.
All
Now, based on your committee, does your committee have a recommendation as to this is what you think would be the best, either one, the best bang for the buck, or the best option for the community, for the board, and or the community at large to review?
I understand that, and the way that community association management companies operate for a single-family dwellings as such as we have here, is they have a contract, and they'll start off with telling you, okay, $2,800 per month. But then if we have an excess in this particular service or that particular service, it's added on. But we wouldn't know that until we determine how much or what services we need. So my question to the board would be, can we have a ballpark figure? A ballpark figure from the board as to the amount of services that we need and the exact, what you're looking for from that
I
service.
think we're trying to empower you as a committee to help, as the community, help make a recommendation to us what you think would make the most sense and make the most benefit for the community. And so if your recommendation, and I'm just making up stuff, if your recommendation is, in all honesty, the management company, yes, they're great, they provide a lot of options, but just providing financial support, honestly, that's probably gonna be your best bang for the buck. Awesome. But if you wanna look at top of the line, full management service to provide us the opportunity to really dwell more into the community items, then it might be this much. I'm looking for, or what I would like to see is that recommendation, like with the IT, here's your legacy, light, and other a la carte options. Here's your 3 choices. It ranges from low end to high end. Here's our recommendation as to why. If you could provide that, that's what would help all of us. Yes, ma'am.
So in the committee, because I'm on the committee, I brought up, I think, most importantly, we need to see what we're gonna look like once IT is full up and running. And then we're also gonna hire a separate attorney. So once we have that up and running and we have the attorney, then we need to see what our needs might be.
I think that's a great point. First of all, there is a lot of overlap of some of these items under the automation that's provided through the website Lite. And I think that that's a valuable point, is that there is some overlap there. Likewise with the attorney project, does this prevent you from having to spend money on an attorney, or does the attorney and the Lite cover most of these issues? And so these are all part of what we need to do. So what parts of this that are specifically spelled out and how they overlap with the IT component is part of what we have to weigh here. So I agree with the sentiment what you're saying, and I really appreciate what you've done, Sue Ellen and Don. This is a lot of work, and it's very good to see this. I think it's worthwhile, though, to see that we really need to compare these things item by item by these different services.
And we understand completely, and we'll do our very best to accommodate you in your request.
And we think it's up to the board to help us understand what you think your requirements are versus us doing it outside. We don't know what activities. I didn't know it's such a struggle for you to send out 20 handwritten, assessments or whatever, invoices.
Well, it's the same problem that Denny did for the last year, and it's hard. I mean, we recognize these things are challenging and archaic. That's part of the reason why we've been slow to move forward with getting the IT up so we can get this right. And for $500, this seems like a great low-cost first step.
It is.
There's a lot more quality, a lot more value in this potentially, but you guys are the ones who've been working with these vendors, and I think trying to summarize what those items are will really help, and maybe working with people will overlap that.
We've got to see exactly what is in existence today, where are the gaps, and what fills the gap, what fills an area that we don't have, and then how much does that end up costing to do that? And it's all requirements game.
And I do really, again, want to say thank you for doing this. So far, everything here very nicely put together, and I appreciate the work you guys have done. Sue Ellen, did you want to continue?
Yes, may I please? All right. As I said, this is not a lifetime commitment. This is strictly done as we want it. They serve at our pleasure.
I just need to interject a little bit, because we are meeting and we are trying to get smart and figure out what we need to create a better trust in our neighborhood. So that's part of the reason seeking outside management is that we take it out of the hands of local IT or an election committee. I mean, we've put ourselves, we've evolved to where we don't trust each other. So that is a component of us looking into this outside management, is because we don't have an atmosphere of trust in our community. So, and it's very detailed, they're a la carte. I knew nothing 2 months ago, I know a thimbleful now. You know, we're trying. But I do think it has to be a partnership with what the board wants and what we as a community deserve to eliminate some of these issues that we have involved.
So first of all, the issue of the trust, you mentioned it, Don mentioned it. I just want to point out that the only way the trust gets better, okay, is to communicate, you and me, here, outside. Transparency. Our trust is not going to get any better because we put a third-party intermediary to rule for us.
Well, I do think it removes it from our hands.
Well, I
If they
disagree.
run
I
our
respect your
elections-
opinion, but I do disagree with the statement, because I honestly don't think I trust people that I don't that don't have a skin in the game like you and I do. Yes,
One
sir.
thing, Sam, that might help, for example, the committee doesn't know what Don does as far as a treasurer. They have no earthly idea. So Don goes and tells them, hey, look, maybe this is the scope of what I do, and I need, if for no other reason, I need somebody to back me up. But I think it comes from the board, where the board says, you know what your job is, or you know what the president's job is, the treasurer. The people that are on this committee right here don't necessarily know the scope, don't know the level, the detail, etc. And I think if you can sort of maybe give them a little bit of guidance, they can say, okay, now we know what you guys, I recommend the county, it might be a good idea to have the treasurer, the president come to the board, the committee and say, listen, here's what we do. You know, the biggest thing is, you know, like you say, a lot of manual inputs that you need to do that just eat up time. He doesn't have that.
But Denny, I mean, that's what this is for.
Okay.
I mean, I think that we've done a lot. We've set out committees. We've had RFPs for IT. We've had RFPs for a management company. We have RFPs that we're engaging for attorneys. And we're communicating here, and we're seeing how these are overlapping.
I just think these folks here, I know when Connie comes on and talks, I think they don't fully understand your jobs. You know, I mean, in other words, the scope of it and what you need. In other words, you know, like I say, just back up.
Well, the other problem is, in talking to the committee, which has put a lot of work into this, is that it isn't the board that is saying yes and or no.
Right.
It's
Understand.
the committee. It's our community that says yes or no. And so once we end up, we got to get to a position where we fully understand what exactly is it going to do, and what's the return on investment for doing that, and so we can communicate that to everybody in the community to say, this is why this is a good idea or it's not a good idea. And then let them decide, you know, and that's our job. Our job isn't to shove it down somebody's
Oh,
throat.
no, I just meant for them to give you a good idea
Right.
of, hey, this is what we think you guys need.
Right.
You know, as a board, that's all I.
Well, and again, Pete is represented on this committee. The board is represented on your committee. Okay? We've made that step to try to participate. And so, you know, again, I would just say that we need to continue to go through these steps. This is not, I mean, there's a lot going on here. And I appreciate all the efforts everyone's put in to try and do this. I'm not slighting anyone for what they've put in. My point is to try to get us to continue to work in what works best for all of us. And so I don't want to stop this presentation. I know we've taken a lot of time already. I want to go ahead and finish the presentation. It's an important presentation. But we are working and we're listening to everything you're saying. Okay?
Well, a quick question back to the ROI question. Do any of these management companies have kind of like a trial use period of use this for 2 months, and if you don't like it, it's free? Or is it strictly a 1-year contract, or?
We haven't gotten to that point yet. I mean, I imagine they're gonna want a 1-year contract that we can cancel whatever we want. But there's a lot of upfront costs for them to engage with us and get started, and for us to engage with them. And, you know, I agree with what you're saying, Sam. The board has bit off a lot of new initiatives here, and they're working hard on that. To bring in an outside firm to help with that transition, I think would be very helpful. I mean, that's why I'm working on this committee. I think it's a worthwhile venture for us. We just gotta figure out, you know, what features we want. Next slide.
I think we have an excellent board right now.
We do. They're just new, and they've got a lot under their belt, and this can help the process.
Change in what we have.
Hey, folks, it is 8:45. I'd like to finish this in the next 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay?
Sure. So again, no disrespect to the board, but there is some potential risk if you don't hire an outside firm. I mean, the board's off to a great start, they're doing a good job, but you guys are all new at this, you lack some experience in it, and there are time constraints that will hinder the operations. You know, without some expert guidance from an outside company at PCM, our community is vulnerable to some mistakes, unintentional mistakes. You know, they can be small, they can be oversights, they can spiral, you know, out of your intended control. Unintentional consequence is probably the best way to say that. You know, and it can put a drain in the community and cause hardships. Enough on that. Next slide, 7.
It must be our time. Okay, first of all, our next steps. And we will include trying to come up with step-by-step and financial costs. We do have a contact, and that contact is a professional. She's the key to all of this. She can speak with y'all, she can speak with everybody. She's willing to participate in our committee meetings, she's willing to come here and talk with you guys and get an overall view. We just want you to know that we do have an industry professional at our disposal.
Is this industry professional aligned with any of the companies that you're looking for? Is it a member of the community? Or?
She is actually one of the leaders for one of our proposed management companies that we got a lot of our information from.
Okay. Is she a member of the community or just?
No, she is not.
Is she able to provide any other information about any of the other companies, or just the one that she's aligned with?
It's just the one that she represents, but she is licensed Community Association Management.
Okay.
And that,
If you're gonna bring one person in, then you need to bring all 3 people in to represent all 3
Exactly.
companies.
exactly. They're all licensed under the state of Florida, and they can't afford to make too many mistakes.
Let's go.
Our next steps, once our requirements are clearly defined, again, going back to what you need, a formal request for proposal will be sent out to each of the companies. They will have an opportunity to alter their current proposals to best fit our RFP and budgetary needs. Upon preliminary approval from the board, It is advisable to schedule a town hall meeting or such as a town hall meeting with membership for open discussions and education. Educating our residents on the benefits of a property management company is imperative to achieving the best outcome for our community at the time of an owner vote. Thank you for listening.
So my recommendation to this committee would be to bring back that comparison of the services available, relative costs, so we have cost benefit for these different services, and it'll be part of what can be looked at based on how the IT part rolls out, and may or may not overlap with the attorney. So we'll reconvene on that next month with regards to what those functions, as you point out, the requirements are clearly defined. Right now, they're not clearly defined, so, bring forward the options for us.
I'll be glad to help post that on the website.
Okay.
Probably figure it out.
You can post this, if you don't have a copy of this, I can send this summary to you.
Sure.
Don, can I share it with him?
Sure, of course.
Okay, we'll send it to you, and then you can put that on there so people can review with that as well. And finally, the community members request to speak. Denny, did you have anything you want to talk about?
I did. And I'll be very brief. First, that's okay, I don't need it. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. My comments relate to the circumstances that led into Bert Everhart's resignation while he was serving as our president. Allow me to quote from his resignation letter. From the moment the election results were announced, I have been bombarded with personal and quasi-legal attacks. This is despite numerous conversations trying to explain the goals and plans I had hoped from the board. The vocal minority of owners has made it so uncomfortable and frankly unhealthy for me to continue. Now, I hope you consider, if you recall, Bert, he ran for the board. 65 of the homeowners voted for Bert. The board elected Bert as president. And then Bert devoted 2 months of tireless duty to try to bring an inexperienced board up to speed. And then, as you can tell from his letter, to an extent, there seemed to be a concerted effort to force him to resign. Now, if we just look at that, the bottom line out of that is that 65 people, or 65 members, voted for Bert. Because of his resignation, in essence, their votes were undermined. So I would ask, what do we do as a community? Do we just sort of look the other way and pretend this didn't happen? Or do we say, okay, it happened, things do happen, but we address it, we take action, and hopefully it doesn't occur in the future? In my opinion, I think the board has a decision to make, but not only the board, each one of us has a decision to make. Is this something that we tolerate in our community? And I think going forward, we all have to look inward, ask that, as I do think the board needs to make a decision, but thank you for this.
Denny, can I ask you a
Well,
question?
I'd like to make a comment.
Well,
I have talked to Bert, and I think Bert had a lot of pressure. He had a lot of emotional problems, and where is Bert? I could think that Bert would be here so he could speak. And I could identify with him, having lots of pressure from the death of a loved one. And I just think it was just too much for Bert. And I think that nobody forced Bert. We did ask him to get documents, and he was stressed over that, even getting documents. So I disagree with what you say, that that he was pushed. He's a man, and he made his own decision, and we have to respect that.
Well, I have to trust Bert's word, but I respect your opinion.
I'm going to also say that Denny brought this as a query to the board, and I, at least on my behalf, personally answered you. I worked with Bert briefly in that period of time, and he never once raised any questions, concerns, angst, anxiety to me. And then he served me with a letter saying, I'm sorry, I resign. And I didn't query him, but I knew he had some emotional, probably the wrong term, some grief issues with the recent demise of his wife. And so I did not query him on that. And I think that was probably the right decision at the right time. Your comments regarding the members of the community, I appreciate you raising those questions. You clearly had that in his letter. He made a decision as an adult. He elected that the weight of this job was something that he did not wish to continue for whatever reason. If it may have been about the election, if it was about the transition, if it was about the fact that he had new board members, I don't know why he was stressed about it, but I do know he's an adult and he has to be given the opportunity to make his decision. And that was my opinion as me personally, Sam Cratides, okay? And as I said to you, that's not something that I felt the board needed to address in an action. I stand by that decision. Does anyone else have any comments regarding his resignation?
No, you actually queried the entire board and asked if anybody had said anything to Bert about resigning. Nobody on the board had said anything to him about resigning. It was his decision. So,
Denny, I got a quick question for you. You're making a statement, or you proposed a statement to the board that we needed to make a decision. What decision are you asking for us to make? Right now, I think we're moving forward with, we do have the election committee trying to figure out best practices to identify what was done wrong, what was done right, and how we move forward with any future election with the election committee. I think that is a very proactive step. But outside of this, I think we've discussed Bert and his ability to make his own decisions.
Well, okay, and I don't want to carry on too much more, just my own perspective would be, this has nothing to do with the election, this happened after the election, but my point would be, if I'm a homeowner and somebody harasses me, I come to the board, what's the board going to do? I just think that it might be of use to inform the community that, hey, should this become an issue, bring it to the attention of the board, and the board will take action. The board has great power. And typically, it's been my experience that if any intimidation, threat, or whatever is exposed or it's brought to light, it stops. That's just my opinion, and I respect your opinion, whatever it might be. But
well, and to your point, Denny, he had the opportunity to bring it to our attention.
Maybe he didn't, but you know now.
But I'm saying, he did have that opportunity, and he didn't ask for that.
I worked with him for 2 months, from January through February up until when he retired, multiple weekends, multiple hours. I was working with you as we were turning over the treasurer process. Yes, he identified that questions were being brought his way about the election. There was nothing about I am being harassed. There was nothing about I need help. There was nothing about anything. It was, wow, this is a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do. And
I understand the board's position.
Okay.
I have one issue before we close.
Sir.
On the beautification, we neglected to bring up the fact that Denny and I had been working hard to get with the contractor in charge of keeping our common areas clean. They are going to be here. They've ordered the pine straw between the 17th and 19th. They're gonna pine straw. We're gonna go around and chop out old bushes that are dead and get them out and pine straw the area and make it look better.
Do you know what their actual scope of work or responsibility is?
We have a contract. Yeah, we do have a contract.
Okay. Alibi, saved rounds. second. Sir?
If, I assume is anyone working on the tax return that's due next week? If not, I'd be willing to assist them in the preparation of the 2024.
I will second the nomination.
The answer is yes, working on it. Yes, I will gladly take your assistance.
Tammy, you had requested the superintendent.
So, if you're gonna contact me if you need something, okay?
Yeah, I'll get it to you. I signed it this week.
It's too late.
I have a quick question, and I should have asked this before, but I was just processing. The issue about the home that's being built across the street, did they receive an approved variance to the covenants that strictly
No, ma'am.
says fence and walls aren't prohibited?
No, ma'am, I did not want to get into all the details. It would take a very long period of time.
I understand, I'm just a neighbor there, and I've been turned down twice for a 4-foot see-through fence as opposed to a giant wall, and I was just kind of curious.
So
if they had received
we
it.
have been told, I have been told that the board cannot grant a variance. If you read the governing documents, if stuff is brought to the board, they are allowed by our covenants to grant a variance on issues. This is in regards to the question. This is a generic. I'm not involved in any of that. My answer is, if you read our governing documents, the board has the power to grant a variance on issues if they so choose to do so.
The architectural standards, not the covenants.
Yeah.
No.
However, the variance could be, just like Bill said, to our standards. The problem we had is, Mike, anyway, the variance has to be, FEMA's the one that's involved with this right now, needing a variance, and they're having to deal with that because that piece of property has something to do with the flood zone that they property.
I'm sorry, what? This property a flood zone?
Yeah, the
Both?
portion of it.
The gentleman involved in that denied that being an issue, by the way.
Did he?
Yes, sir.
Well, I just heard that from Mike,
Correct? Flood zone. Is the flood zone part of your decision, Clark?
Primarily, I wanted to have a
So at least,
house was always gonna